Okay, Sweet Pea, how about we read a couple of Curious George stories? We'll just start with the first one and go from there. Oh, this is a good one. Curious George goes to a chocolate factory. This is George. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. One day, George went for a drive with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. Make sure you can see it. Look, George, said the man, there is a store in that chocolate factory up ahead. Let's stop for a treat. George loved chocolates. Inside the store, boxes of chocolates were stacked everywhere. But the man with the yellow hat found his favorite right away. George, he said, wait here while I buy these and please stay out of trouble. George looked around the store. He saw chocolate-covered cherries and fudge-flavored lollipops. A chocolate bunny caught his eye. Then something else caught his eye. What were all those people looking at? George was curious. He climbed up to get a better look. Through the window, he saw lots of trays filled with little brown dots. What were all those little brown dots? George was curious. He found a door that led to the other side of the window. The little brown dots were chocolates, of course. A tour guide was showing a group of people how to tell what was inside the chocolates by looking at the swirls on top. This swirl means fudge, this one means there's caramel inside, and this wiggle is for marshmallow. This squiggle is for a truffle, this one is for nougat, and this sideways swirl is for orange fluff. And this is one for George's favorite, banana cream. George followed the tour group until they came to a balcony overlooking a room where the chocolates were made. Down below, busy workers picked the candy off the machines and then put them in boxes. These were the machines that made the chocolates with the swirls on top. The chocolates came out of the machine on long belts, but how did they get their swirls? George was curious. He climbed down from the balcony and up onto a machine. George peeked inside. He was trying to see what was making the swirls when all of a sudden, the chocolates began coming out faster and faster. They sped by him so quickly they seemed to be running on legs of their own. Quick, bring more boxes, yelled a man with a tall white hat. What happened? Asked another man. Nobody answered. Nobody knew what happened, and everyone was so busy that no one noticed George. The workers began to fall behind, and the candy began to fall off the end of the belt. Save the chocolates, yelled the man with the tall white hat. Meanwhile, George saw one of his favorites whiz by. He tried to catch the banana cream chocolate, but it was too fast. He chased it to the end of the belt. At the end of the belt, the pile of chocolates was growing taller and taller. George had never seen so many chocolates. As he searched for the banana cream, he put the others in empty boxes. George was a fast worker. Someone noticed and yelled, "Bring that monkey some more boxes. He's helping us catch up." Not all the chocolates made it into the boxes, but no more chocolates fell on the floor. Just when George and the workers were all caught up, the tour guide ran in with the man with the yellow hat. "Get that monkey out of here," she yelled. "He's ruining our chocolates." "But this little monkey saved our chocolates," explained the workers. Then the man with the tall white hat said to George, "You may have caused us some trouble, but you were a speedy little monkey. You deserve a big box of candy for all your help." George was glad he was not in trouble, but he did not take the chocolates. Back in the parking lot, the workers waved goodbye to George as he and his friend got into their blue car. "George, are you sure you don't want any chocolates before we leave?" asked the man with the yellow hat. George was sure. Let's see, how about we read George Feeds the Animals. This is George. George was a good little monkey and always very curious. One day, George went to the zoo with his friend, the man with the yellow hat. A new rainforest exhibit was opening, and they wanted to be the first ones inside. But when they got to the new exhibit, the doors were closed. "Well, we'll have to come back later," George said to the man. "Why don't we visit the other animals while we wait?" First, they stopped to watch the zookeeper feed the seals. When he tossed little fish in the air, the seals jumped up to catch them. Then they barked for more. It looked like fun to feed the animals. "Would you like something to eat too, George?" asked the man with the yellow hat, and he bought a snack for them to share. When they stopped to see the crocodiles, George remembered how the zookeeper had fed the fish to the seals. He was curious. Would the crocodile like something to eat? George tossed him a treat, and the crocodile snapped it out of the air. Next, they visited the koalas. George thought the koalas were cute. Here was a friendly one. She was curious, too. She wanted to see what George was eating, so George held out his hand to share. George shared his treat with an elephant and a baby kangaroo. George was making lots of new friends at the zoo. The lion was already eating, but the hippopotamus tried a snack. Next, he gave one to an ostrich. Then George saw the giraffes. What fun to feed a giraffe! Giraffes usually have their heads up high in the tree, but George could see these giraffes would be easy to feed. But as soon as he held his hand, a zookeeper came running. The zookeeper looked angry. Was he angry with George? George didn't know, and he didn't want to stay to find out. He slipped away. And the giraffes were happy to help. But where did George go? Do you see George? He was trying his best to hide, but little monkeys can't stay still for long. When George wiggled, the zookeeper was waiting. "I see you," he said. Just then another zookeeper hurried by. "Come quick," she yelled. "Someone saw the parrot." The first zookeeper led George to a bench. "The parrot from our new exhibit escaped, and I must help find it," he explained. He told George to wait there for him, and before he left he said, "Don't you know you're not supposed to feed the animals? The wrong food might make them sick." George felt awful. He didn't know he wasn't supposed to feed the animals. He didn't want to make them sick. George was looking at the treat in his hand when all of a sudden a big bird swooped down and snatched it right up. Now George knew he wasn't supposed to feed the animals, but this one had helped itself. A zookeeper was passing by and was happy to see George. "You found the parrot," she said. "We've been looking for this bird all day." When she saw George's snack, she said, "This isn't the best thing for a parrot, but a little won't hurt. Would you like to help me get him back to where he belongs?" George was glad to help after all the trouble he had caused, and together they went back to the exhibit. "There's our problem," the zookeeper said, pointing to a hole in the netting. As the zookeepers discussed how to fix it, George had an idea. He climbed up like only a monkey could, and when he reached the hole, he tied the netting back together. Meanwhile, the first zookeeper returned. "Catch that naughty monkey," he yelled. "He was feeding the animals." "But that little monkey found the parrot," another zookeeper told him. "And look, now he fixed the netting. We can open the exhibit." When George came down, all the zookeepers cheered. Finally, the celebration began and the doors were open. The man with the yellow hat was there, and he and George were the first to be inside. As George walked in, the zookeepers thanked him for his help. "Please visit any time," they said. George couldn't wait to come back and see his friends, but the next time he'd remember, unless you're a zookeeper, don't feed the animals. I love you, Sweet Pea.